Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Good evening and welcome to the Reaver Common Sense, making sense out of the senseless right here on SHR Media, Conservative Media done right. Tonight we're not dealing in rumors, spin, or carefully crafted narratives. We are dealing in patterns of revenge politics, patterns of media ignorance and arrogance, patterns of elected officials who believe accountability is something that only applies to their opponents. From Bill Clinton's testimony to Hillary Clinton to Suzanne Rice openly talking about cold revenge, to impeachment articles flying in Minnesota, to CNN accidentally admitting the country feels more optimistic after hearing the president directly. The mask is slipping everywhere you look. The people who claim to defend democracy seem awfully comfortable threatening half the country. The politicians who preach compassion go silent when the victims don't fit their script. And the media that lectures about standards can't even hide their bias anymore. We're all going to connect these dots tonight because this is bigger than one headline. This is about power, narrative control, and growing divide between the political class and everyday Americans. It's about whether government serves the people or punishes them for voting the wrong way. So buckle up. We have a packed show, and we're going straight at it. But don't forget, SHR merch is here, and it's built for people who refuse to sit quietly while the nonsense runs wild. From bold logo t-shirts to gear that makes statements without saying a word, this isn't just merch. It's a signal. You stand for freedom. You stand for accountability. You stand where truth lives. Wear it, share it, live it. Grab your SHR Media merch today and represent common sense wherever you go. Before we go any further, though, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and share this stream like your freedom depends on it, because it just might. Every click helps us punch through big tech censorship, drown out the media noise, and make sure common sense has a fighting chance. The precedent. For those that don't know, Bill Clinton had his deposition today, and Bill Clinton defends the truth under oath. And we're going to start today with a moment that even the mainstream media didn't see coming. For years, the left and their mouthpiece have tried to play this guilt by association game, trying to tie President Trump to Jeffrey Epstein's web. But today, the narrative didn't just stumble, it hit a brick wall. Former President Bill Clinton finally sat down for his deposition with the White House Oversight Committee. Now we know Bill and Hillary didn't go willingly. They fought these subpoenas for months until they were staring down a contempt of Congress charge. But once the cameras were on and the oath was taken, the truth started leaking out. And according to Chairman James Comer, Bill Clinton testified. I'll tell you what, let's go straight to the tape. And
President Clinton said, that's for you to decide. And the president went on to say that the president, Trump, has never said anything to me to make me think he was involved, and he meant with Epstein. So I know there's a lot of curiosity about President Trump. I thought that was an interesting thing that President Clinton said. So I'll let the Democrats have the podium and they can answer your questions, but we'll come to President.
That's right. Bill Clinton said he never heard or seen anything that links President Trump to Epstein. Donald Trump was never mentioned as being involved in any of it. Clinton reportedly told committee that Trump never said anything to him that would even suggest he was a part of that circle. Think about the common sense here. If there was even a shred of evidence to throw the president under the bus, do you really think Bill Clinton would have missed that chance? Of course not. But when you're under oath and the penalties are real, the political fairy tales have to stop. For years, we've heard the expert at CNN, MSNBC, try to create a Trump-sized hole in this investigation. But here we have the man who actually flew on the plane, the man who actually spent the time effectively shutting down the very conspiracy theories the media has been feeding you. It turns out that when the chips are down and the lawyers are in the room, even the Clintons have to admit what we've known all along. The media's favorite narrative and the trolls that show up in these chat rooms. Trump the pedo. Trump did this. Trump did that. There's no evidence at all. Witness after witness, victim after victim have said he had nothing to do with it. The only thing he had to deal with is he turned Epstein into the FBI. He helped the victims. But because these people are so deranged in their hate for Trump that they will smear this guy with no facts, nothing, zilch, zero. They hear one line from Democrats who are making wild accusations with zero proof, zero evidence, and these idiots run around and just spew it time and time again. No, I am not in a fucking cult. And I'm not paying attention to chat, but I'm just sure it's in there. Or you're at home. You're in a fucking cult. No. If this man showed any evidence that he was a pedophile, I would throw him to the side faster than anything. But there is none. Every time I've heard an accusation against this president, and remember, folks, these are the people that have, for 10 years now, 11 years, have tried to get him on everything. They've manufactured statutes to get him. They change laws to get him. Don't you think after all these years, if there was one iota, one bit of proof, they would not have exposed it during the Biden years? We just found out that Biden, DOJ, and FBI were eavesdropping on Susan Wheels. Is it the Trump's right-hand woman, and Kash Patel again. They were spying on Trump again. They got away with it under Obama, and they've done it again under Biden, we're finding out. They had spyware on, I can't think, was it Kristi Noem's cell phone that Elon Musk found on there? But no, of course, the liberals will blow it off and make excuses, but it's the right that are the fascists and authoritarians. You need to take the blinders off, people. You think I've been a conservative and this Republican my whole life. I haven't. I used to be an independent. But the left went so far left that they drove me away from any chance of me saying, you know what, I might support that candidate. They have pushed. They have lied. They've cheated and pushed, not just me, millions of Americans away. And look at the campaign funds. The number of Republicans, registered Republicans now, the Democrat Party has pushed people away. You've sat there and demonized people for years. Well, it pushes people away. It made me open my eyes to the bullshit that is the mainstream media. Now, if you think that was a quick shift in reality, wait until you see what happened when Hillary Clinton stepped outside those same doors the other day. And 4 seconds of truth, Hillary Clinton flees the Maxwell question. For someone who loves to talk a big game on social media, it turns out Hillary Clinton still has that same old knack for whittling the second the pressure actually gets real. After months of dodging, the Clintons finally sat. And of course, Hillary went straight to X to puff her chest out, daring the committee to have the fight in public and acting like she was the champion of transparency. Remember during her Benghazi committee? She couldn't remember anything. Real transparent there. But when she finally stepped out from that meeting and faced the cameras, that defiance evaporated in record time. A reporter asked one simple, straightforward question. Why was Ghislaine Maxwell at Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010? And it caused her to fold faster than a cheap suit.
James Matthews from Sky News. Can I ask, why was Ghislaine Maxwell invited to my daughter Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010? She'd already been mentioned in a civil lawsuit by Virginia Giuffre before that. Jeffrey Epstein had already been convicted before that.
Now think about that. Epstein had already been convicted. Everybody knew that Maxwell was directly linked to Epstein, and she was in the middle of a lawsuit. So it's not, oh, I didn't know. It was very common knowledge at that point.
She came as the +1, the guest of someone who was invited.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Oh, for the woman that wanted to get up there and start talking about everything, she sure as hell booked it out of there real fast. She didn't want anything to do with the press when they started pushing back with questions. Now, keep in mind, by the time that wedding happened, Jeffrey Epstein was already a convicted sex offender, and Maxwell had already been named in civil lawsuits. Hillary's response? She claimed Maxwell was just a +1. And the second the follow-up questions started following, Big Bad Hillary fled the mic. It took exactly 4 seconds for her to bolt for the exit. This wasn't a conspiracy theory. It was a legitimate question about why an infamous associate of a predator was a guest at one of the most high-profile weddings of the decade. If you're going to wrap yourself in the banner of transparency, you should be able to handle a few uncomfortable seconds without running away. Moments like this don't create cynicism, they validate it. It reinforces the common sense belief that there is one set of rules for the political royalty and another for the rest of us. Transparency isn't a slogan you tweet to look tough. It's the standard you have to live up to, especially when the questions get uncomfortable. Hillary wanted the fight in public. Well, she just got a taste of it. She just got a small taste of it, and she couldn't even last 5 seconds. Rumors are Bill can last longer than 5 seconds. And that there is the common thread running through tonight's show. The bravado always sounds strong online. And this is also a woman that has her replies on X blocked. You can't reply to anything she tweets. She cannot take an opposing view. She only wants an echo chamber around her. And we've heard from Secret Service after Secret Service that is exactly how she is. She cannot take any pushback. She didn't even want Secret Service or the military looking at her. This woman thinks her shit don't stink. Well, I hate to tell her she's worse than a fucking sewage plant. She's not special. She's not all that. She's not royalty. She found that out in 2016 when the United States of America said, we ain't having you. We're done with you. She left many, many men and women to die and try to cover it up. And if you don't know that, read 13 Hours. Read the direct account from the guys on the ground in Benghazi and how Hillary Clinton couldn't even do the Sunday show. She couldn't take any pushback. She couldn't speak and justify her actions of abandoning an ambassador, our military guys that were there on her behalf, and Obama's. This is a woman who had her email server in a fucking bathroom in a barn somewhere. And how that got found out is through the Benghazi investigation when they couldn't find any of her emails because she had it on an unsecure server. Now we find out Obama blocked that investigation or any charges being filed against her. But now people are tired of her and they're not bowing down like she's some kind of queen. The speeches always sound confident behind closed doors. But the moment real scrutiny shows up, the mask slips and defiance fades. The accountability disappears. If you think that's the only elite trying to outrun the truth today, stick around, because while Hillary is running from reporters, Susan Rice is out here making threats. And the mask has slipped for Susan Rice. They aren't even hiding it anymore. We've got Susan Rice out there, a woman who spent years at the highest level of government, openly talking about how revenge is best served cold when it comes to the people who support the president, who, by our Constitution, voted for who they thought was best. So now the Democrats who don't like that the people said we've had enough of your bullshit and lies. Now they want revenge. And she's not the only one. She is not the only one by far out there making that type of threat. Eric Swalwell has made the threat that once Democrats get back in power, we're going to take revenge. Chris Murphy's out there threatening businesses. He's threatened people. He's threatened politicians. He's threatened ICE. Now he's threatening businesses. Cory Booker's been out there making the threats. Susan Rice, as we're talking about. Kathy Holchek, Jason Crow, Dan Goldman, Maxine Waters, Mark Kelly, Slotkin, Goldlander, and the list goes on and on. Gavin Newsom, Pritzker. And they've all made these threats. But then they accuse us of being the fascists. They accuse us of being authoritarian. When they're the ones that are throwing a hissy fit and making threats of revenge because they lost an election. Because they don't like what's going on. Because it's making them look bad. That's making the Democrats look like shit. And if you look, even CNN has been talking about it. The numbers are going way Republican. Economy, border, foreign policies. Everyone after another. People are trusting Republicans over the Democrats. Now you have Chuck Schumer going out there. We're going to concentrate on bringing costs down. Last time they said those words, they pushed that infrastructure bill that jacked up our inflation rate through the roof. Costs blew up across this country. That's what happened the last time Chuck Schumer talked about he was going to lower cost. And even if now they have a plan, why didn't you do that under Biden? And don't give me the excuse it's always the Republicans' fault. This was Biden. This was the Democrats. Take responsibility for your shit. Take responsibility for your actions. You caused the inflation to skyrocket. You caused cost of living to skyrocket. Wages to sink down. We're getting out of that now. Inflation is down. The GDP is going good. The Stock market's doing good. Rent's lower. Mortgage rates are lower. Wages are up. Houses are available. Renting a house is available. Gas prices, energy prices. Taxes are down. And not just for the billionaires. No, no, no. For everybody. Record amounts of returns are going to people. Yes, I know the tariffs may have raised up to $1,000 per year per person, but also the taxes you're getting back on top of it are $1,000 to $2,000 more per person per year. We're pulling in money. Debt is actually leveling off or going down right now. And Democrats are crying about it. Democrats are freaking out about it. Why? Because it's making them look bad. It's showing their policies suck. It's showing their policies are the exact opposite of what the American people want. It shows that the policies are anti-American. I mean, Jesus Christ, we saw it at the State of the Union. One question. All they had to do was stand up. One fucking question. Is the government's job to protect the citizens and not illegals? Stand up. Democrats couldn't even do that. They couldn't stand up for any of the veterans. They couldn't stand up for a World War II veteran. They couldn't stand up for a kid that life was destroyed because an illegal alien driving a truck ran into the car and crippled the kid. They couldn't stand up for that kid. They couldn't stand up for anybody. They sat there like little children. And it showed they are not for the people. They can come up with all the excuses they want now because they weren't expecting negative press. They never think they're going to get negative press because for decades the press has covered them. Well, it's not covering them 100% anymore. There's more people out there reporting. There's SHR Media where we talk about the truth of what's going on. There's KLRN that talks about the truth. There is podcaster after podcaster exposing the truth of what's going on. And I could just hear the trolls. You're lying. You're lying. If they can never back up. But think about that for a second. We're being lectured from the left about unity and democratic norms by people who are openly fantasizing about settling scores. This isn't governance. This is a vendetta. It matters who is saying it. This isn't some anonymous internet troll firing off a late night post. This is someone who sat inside the Situation Room, who helped shape foreign policy, who understands exactly how power is wielded in Washington. When language like that comes from someone with that resume, it is not careless. It is intentional. When they talk about cold revenge, they're letting the mask slip. They don't want to debate policy. They don't want to hear about American people actually voted for. They're telling you that if you stand in their way, or if you dare to support the wrong side of the aisle, you're not a citizen. You're a target. That mindset is dangerous because it reframes political disagreement as moral treason. It suggests that half the country is not simply wrong, it's illegitimate. And once you cross that line, once you convince yourself your opponents are enemies of the state rather than fellow Americans, almost anything can be justified in the name of saving democracy. Is this the democracy they keep telling us is at stake? Because it looks a lot like a playground bully who just lost their lunch money. And if you think they're going to stop at just talking, you're not paying attention. Eric Swalwell, Chris Murphy, Cory Booker, Susan Rice, Kathy Holchek, Jason Crow, Dan Goldman, Maxine Waters, Mark Kelly, Eliza Slotkin, Maggie Goldlander, Chrissy Houlihan, J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom. They've all made the threat. They've also been running around screaming that Trump is rigging the election midterms. Do you know why they're running around doing that? Because they know they're internal polls. There's polls that they show us, and then there's internal polls. Just like in 2016, the internal polls showed Donald J. Trump ahead. They didn't believe it, but it showed it. But the polls that we saw showed Hillary Clinton ahead. They see the polls. They know they're in trouble. They're not going to admit it. They're going to come out and puff their chest because they're trying to do a psych ops of don't go out and vote. There's no need for it. You don't need to go out and vote because we got it locked up. You don't need to vote. We've seen that psych ops before. But this is a reason why the Republicans have to get out there and vote it like their freedom depends on it. Because it actually does. Because if the Democrats get in, they are going to exact revenge. They got stood up at the prom, and they're upset. So they're going to act like children and exact revenge. Not just against political class. They're going to show the people that what happens when you don't vote for them. So Republicans need to make sure that they keep in mind that if they sit home, they are voting in Democrats to exact revenge on them. We've heard Hillary Clinton out there talking about basically re-education camps for people who voted for Trump. Here's the thing. You voted for Democrat. You voted for Kamala Harris. I think you're wrong on it. But it's your God-given right in this country to vote for who the fuck you want. I don't think you need to be sent to a re-education camp. And when I'm talking Democrats, I'm not talking, for the most part, about the populace. I'm talking about the politicians. Everybody has a right to vote for who they want and not justify it. I may disagree with you. I may talk about why I don't think that's the right choice, but it is your choice. And the Democrats, the party, are throwing a hissy fit. And they're telling us they're going to exact revenge. And they're telling us it's not just going to be against the administration. It's going to be against the party. It's going to be against the companies. It's going to be against the people of the country. How can you go out there as a politician and make these threats to the people you need to vote for you? Somebody explain that to me. How you go out there and threaten and insult the people you need to vote for you. And that is what's going on in this country right now. It's absolutely scary. I mean, this country is not what I was raised in. And we're just getting started, folks. This is the anatomy of a political warfare. And we're only peeling back the first layer. Don't go away. We'll be right back with a brief message.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
Hey, where do you go when you want real conversation and topics? That's right, you step to the edge. The Edge of Liberty is your home for talk radio the way it was meant to be. I'll be live every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network, and we're simulcast on KLRN Radio. We're building something different, Aaron. We just want you to be a part of it. I'll see you on the Edge.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Reaver Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, here to make sense out of the senseless, right here on SHR Media, conservative media done right. Don't forget, SHR Media merch is here, and it's built for people who refuse to sit quietly while the nonsense runs wild. For bold logo t-shirts to gear that makes statements without saying a word. This isn't just merch, it's a signal. You stand for free speech. You stand for accountability. You stand where truth lives. Wear it, share it, live it. Grab your SHR Media merch today and represent common sense wherever you go. Before we go any further, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and share the stream like your freedom depends on it, because it just might. Every click helps us punch through big tech censorship, drown out media noise, and make sure common sense has a fighting chance. So, if politics turns into a cycle of retaliation, then elections stop being about ideas and start being about fear. And once fear becomes the currency, the republic itself starts taking the hit. But up in Minnesota, things are finally hitting a breaking point. Lawmakers have officially drawn up articles of impeachment against Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison. Now, think about what it takes to get to this stage. This isn't just political posturing. It's a response to a long-standing pattern of overreach and a failure to uphold the law. We've watched this for years as they prioritize radical agendas over the safety and the constitutional right of the people in their state. I do want to take a moment. I forgot. I want to thank everybody that's here. I want to thank the ones in the chat. I want to thank the moderators. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Just be respectful, especially if you're going to tell me I'm wrong. At least back it up with fact. Don't, he lies. He lies. Oh, there's a big blue wave coming. Keep saying that. Keep saying there's a blue wave. Please. Please. Because what you don't understand is you're telling people, don't need to go vote. It's in the bag. There's a blue wave coming. You don't need to vote. You can stay home. Trust us. Republicans have learned that, saying there's a red wave coming. Red wave coming. People go, hey, there's a red wave. Everybody else is going to vote. I don't need to go vote. So please do keep talking about that blue wave. Because if you think that upsets me, it doesn't. Especially when you start looking at actual polls. Not just the ones in your echo chamber. When you start looking at all of them. When you look at the data, when you look at how they're done, you start understanding what's going on with those polls. But, you know, you think you're smarter. makes me laugh. But you go ahead and think that. Let's get back to Minnesota. But like I said, I want to thank, even if you disagree, whatever. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in the chat. And if you want to get in the conversation, go to YouTube, search for SHR Media, hit the live button, jump on in. Now think about what it takes to get to this stage. This isn't just political posturing. It's a response to a long-standing pattern of overreach. And this didn't happen overnight. It's been building through policy fights, courtroom battles, and community frustration has simmered for years. Small business owners, law enforcement officers, and everyday families have been sounding the alarm, arguing that state leadership has been more interested in ideological victories than practicing governance. Whether it's the handling of civil unrest or the way they've used their office to target political opponents, the common sense crowd in Minnesota has had enough. They are tired of being a laboratory for far-left experiments that leave the average citizens holding the bag. There is also a broader message being sent here. Impeachment, whether it succeeds or not, signals that elected officials are not immune from scrutiny simply because they hold high office. It forces a public debate about priorities, about constitutional boundaries, and about whether executive power has been stretched beyond its intended limits. They tell you this is dangerous for democracy. Let's be real. Holding elected officials accountable to the law isn't how a republic is supposed to work. Walz and Ellison have operated like they're untouchable for a long time. It looks like that clock just ran out. Now, while state leaders face accountability battles, the national mood is shifting in a way the media cannot ignore. When CNN has to admit that people are feeling good about where the country is headed, you know the narrative shift isn't just a ripple. It's a tidal wave. They ran a poll after the president's latest speech, and all the results had to be a bitter pill for the folks in that studio and the left to swallow. A clear majority of viewers came away feeling more optimistic about America's future. And the videos that popped up afterwards with the Democrats' actions and what's been going on lately of more and more people leaving the Democrat Party. It's the numbers have been dropping. You can run in that chat. You can run your mouth. Tell me how great the Democrat Party is. You got blinders on, people. That's the problem. I question the Republicans all the time. We have here on SHR Media called out Republicans. We've called out Trump. I have one allegiance. Well, maybe not one. To the country. Not to a political party. Not to a politicians. I don't trust politicians. I don't trust most humans. We're flawed by nature. And these politicians, especially if they stay in office too long, are about power. And that's the difference between me and the trolls in the chat. I'll call out Republicans. I've called out Cruz. I've called out Massey. I've called out Comer. I've called out Thune, Mitchell, McConnell. Like I said, I've called out Trump too. I'll call out my party. The trolls in the chat won't. They have blinders on. Their allegiance is to the party, not to the country. And CNN's starting to, because they got financial stake going on, that they have to start going back to the center. They got to go back to reporting the truth. And don't go on the chat and fuck Fox. I don't like any of the mainstream media. They're all corporations. They're all out to make money. And I've said it time and time again on this show. But the go-to for trolls is Fox News. CNN was once a great news station. Then they decided to start being political. And they chose a side. That's my issue. Report the news. Report on the Republicans. Report on the Democrats. Report on the independents. Report in the middle of what's going on. Period. That's not what's happening. But it's starting to come around. And for years, the media has tried to paint a picture of darkness and chaos. But the moment the American people hear the actual plan without the filter, they aren't scared. They're encouraged. But it's not just a feeling. They just released another poll that blows the entire midterm strategy out of the water. Even with the constant media drumbeat of division, and people were asked who they trust more on key issues that actually affect their daily lives. The answer was Donald Trump, the Republican Party. Think about the common sense behind this. The media spends 24 hours a day trying to convince you that the economy is a hoax and that your grocery bill is actually higher. But when people answer a survey, they aren't looking at teleprompters. They're looking at their bank accounts. They remember a time when the energy was real expensive. The border was unsecure and the world was on fire. CNN's own data shows that on the economy and national security, the two things that historically decide every midterm election, Trump is lapping the field. People are seeing a return to sanity, and they're looking for results over hope and change. The experts are scratching their heads, wondering why the doom and gloom isn't working. But the narratives they spend a year building is crumbling. They can call it a clown car all they want, but the voters see is a winning hand. Americans want to win again, and for the first time in a long time, they feel like they actually might. But optimism is on paper means nothing if compassion and practice is selective. And that takes us somewhere far more personal. Selective compassion, when like Democrats ignore a grieving mother. It is a low point for our political discourse when a grieving mother is treated like a political inconvenience. And we're talking about the mother of Iriza Zarutsky. I know I'm butchering her name and I apologize. The woman that was killed on a subway, stabbed in the neck. A woman killed because of the very policies Democrats refuse to fix. The president called them out on it, and rightfully so. During the State of the Union, while the cameras were rolling and the Democrats were busy checking their watches or planning their next boycott, there was a mother in that room who had lost everything. And what did she get from the other side of the aisle? Silence. Total, cold-blooded avoidance.
Arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget there were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal, set free to kill in America, came in through open borders. Mrs. Zaretsky, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to be arrested over.
See, to the radical left, if your tragedy doesn't fit the open borders narrative, it doesn't exist. If your child is killed by someone who shouldn't have been in this country in the first place, you aren't a victim to them. You're a talking point to be ignored. It's the ultimate form of selective compassion. They'll cry for the cameras when it suits their agenda. But when it's time to face the real-world consequences of their own failures, they look the other way. And here's what makes it worse. This was not some random activist in the crowd. This was a mother invited into the chamber of the United States Congress, setting feet away from lawmakers who constantly speak about empathy and inclusion. The contrast between the speeches about compassion and visibly indifference in that room could not have been more stark. Moments like that do not disappear when the cameras shut off. They linger. They shape public trust. People watching at home are not policy analysts. They are parents, workers, citizens. When they see a grieving family acknowledged by one side and ignored by the other, they draw their own conclusions about who actually sees them as human beings and who sees them as political inconveniences. It's heartless, it's gutless, and exactly why people are losing faith in the compassion the media keeps telling us these politicians have. And if ignoring a grieving mother wasn't not enough, the media found a way to make it even worse. Dang, give me a second. I thought I had this all set to go, but I was wrong. Let me get this ready. There we go. Sorry about that. If you want to know how the corporate media really feels about you, look no further than how they describe the parents of children killed by illegals. CNN, Song Min Kim, actually used the phrase so-called angel moms recently.
Oh, I think we're actually getting a little preview of kind of the theme of his address later today at the White House when he hosts the so-called angel moms. And so really focusing on immigration as he kicks off his big State of the Union week.
You can't. I just don't understand where their heads are. Think about the level of detachment and elitism it takes to put so-called in front of the grief of a mother who buried her child. These aren't so-called victims. These are families whose lives have been permanently shattered because the federal government refused to do its most basic job, securing the border. These are deaths that could have been prevented. And how they could have been prevented is by not allowing these people that did not deserve to be in the country. They came in here illegally. They are criminals. They are criminals, and the Democrats are protecting them and holding them to a higher plateau than the American people. You can give me, they pay more money, they do this, do that. Bullshit. They break the law. These are crimes that could have been prevented. But to the activists posing as journalists, those mothers are just a PR hurdle. They use that kind of language to discredit them, to make it sound like their loss is some kind of political fabrication or an alt-right talking point. It's an attempt to dehumanize people who are speaking a truth that the media finds inconvenient. One thing to disagree on policy, it's another thing entirely to mock the mourning of a parent to protect a political narrative. It's disgusting, it's low, And it's why nobody trusts these news organizations anymore. They traded their humanity for a press pass to the DNC. So what happens when even voices on the left start noticing the moral rot? When even Bill Myers is looking at his own side and telling him they've lost the plot, you know the fever is reaching a boiling point. Myers recently pointed out the obvious. The modern left is very down on America and very down on the West. And he's right. We've reached a point where the people who benefit most from Western civilization, from our freedoms, our from our way of life and our legal protection, prosperity, damn, new tone, are the ones most obsessed with tearing it down. These people that come here because they hate their country that they're from, or that's what they say. They come here, bash our country, tell us how their country's so great and how much better, but they refuse to go back to their country. Anybody else see the bullshit in that? They view our history as nothing but a list of sins and our future as something that needs to be dismantled and reimaged. It's a strange kind of self-loathing. You have people living in the freest society in human history acting like they're living in a dystopian nightmare. They focus so much on what's wrong that they've become completely blind to what's right. They replace common sense with a cult of grievance. Myers isn't a conservative, but he's sane enough to realize that if you spend all your time hating the foundation of your own house, eventually the roof is going to cave in on you. It's high time more people on that side of the aisle realize that hating your own country isn't a virtue. It's a suicide pact. And that internal fracture showed itself on the world stage in a way no spin room could clean up. When the hometown network starts calling your party a total clown car, you officially lost the locker room. And CNN isn't holding back anymore after watching AOC and Gavin Newsom stumble around the world stage in Munich. Think about the optics. You have the self-appointed leaders of the progressive movement over in Europe trying to play a world-class statement. And they end up looking like amateurs. It was an embarrassment, not just for them, but for the country. They're over there pushing radical domestic agendas at a high-level security conference while the rest of the world is looking for actual leadership. Here, don't take my word for it. CNN, give credit where credit's due. I'm not going to disagree with him on this.
So we see Governor Newsom. He's got a book, I think, which actually publishes today. He's in the middle of the fray of possible Democratic contenders. So what do the polls say?
Yeah, they're all running, and this is just a downright clown car at this point on the Democratic side. I mean, just take a look here. Top choices for the 2028 Dem-Pres nominee. You have a leader, but it's not really a clear leader. It's within the margin of error. You have Newsom at 19%. Then you have former Vice President Kamala Harris at 18%. Quite a weak number for her, given that, of course, she was the nominee last time.
She just ran, and that is her number. That is...
around. Pete Buttigieg, who, of course, has run before, 13%. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at 12%. This is just a total clown car. It is a total mess. There is no clear front runner at this particular point on the Democratic side. Who the heck knows who the nominee is going to be in 2 years?
It's been a long time since we've had a Democratic race like this.
Yeah, it has been a long time.
Yeah, because the last several times they've appointed who they wanted to be their nominee. The democracy didn't really have elections on who the candidate was going to be. The reality is starting to set in, even for the media experts. The current Democrat bench is thin, and the people at the top are more interested in their own brand than in actual diplomacy or common sense. Calling it a total mess is actually being generous. When you got AOC trying to dictate foreign policy based on where the equator is, and Newsom acting like a president in waiting while his own state is falling apart, clown car is the only phrase that fits. The wheels aren't just coming off. They're already rolling down the street and hit that fire hydrant. Speaking of optical disaster, let's talk about what happens when pandering replaced leadership. I still can't believe he did this. We're going to breeze through this real quick when we set up the video because we're almost at the end of the show. I still can't, and he is getting hammered for this to the point that I think this could cost him. That this could cost him his chance of being a president. All right. The reality is starting to set in even for the media. Excuse me. Gavin Newsom went down to Georgia recently and gave a performance that was as cringeworthy as it was revealing. Standing in front of a black audience, the governor of California, a man who carried himself like he's the smartest guy in every room, tried to relate by telling them, and I quote, "I am like you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. I can't read." Basically, what he just said is blacks are stupid. You score low on the SAT and they can't read. Democrat Party has insulted the black community. And I don't understand why they have the support they do from the black community. They keep insulting you, disparaging you, telling you you're stupid. You don't know how to get an ID. You're too stupid to use a computer. Now they're saying you're so stupid you can't even read. And it just blows my mind how they keep supporting this party and supporting these people. Because they run around going, the Republicans are racist. But you're too dumb to read the internet. You're too dumb to get an ID, but the Republicans are racist. They play the psychops, and I can't believe so many people fall for it.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. And I'm not trying to offend anyone, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech.
He cannot read a speech. So let me ask you a question. He wants to become president. He wants to have big meetings with international crowds that he'll have to read from a speech. Think about that, people. Think about that. Well, that's going to be it for tonight. Tonight was not about one politician, one network, or one bad headline. It was about a pattern of revenge. Politics replacing debate. A pattern of media elites protecting narratives instead of people. A pattern of leadership that worries more about optics than outcome. When grieving mothers are dismissed, when protests are subsidized, when emergency services draft memos to protect politicians instead of citizens, when elected officials treat voters like enemies, something deeper is happening. That is not normal politics. That is a political class circling the wagons. But here's the part they cannot control. The American people are paying attention. They are watching the migration numbers. They are watching the polls shift. They are watching who shows up to work and who boycotts it. And most importantly, they are making decisions based on results, not rhetoric. Common sense is not loud. It is not flashy. It does not trend on social media. However, it wins over time because reality eventually demands it. If you take anything away from tonight, let it be this. Accountability is not extremism. Law enforcement is not hatred. Securing the border is not cruelty. Expecting competence from government is not radical. It is the bare minimum. And we will continue to call it exactly as it is, without the filter, without the spin, and without apology. Thank you for spending your evening with us here on Reaver Common Sense. Smash the like button. Smash right now. Subscribe right now. And share this stream everywhere you can. Every click helps SHR Media grow and keeps the show rolling. I am Jersey Joe, and this is the Reaver of Common Sense on SHR Media, where truth lives and the nonsense dies screaming. But if you want more people, we got him. BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know this week he was out. He kind of got injured. Edge of Liberty with Sackhead Sean every Monday and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mission Ready Men with Big E Jackson, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, noon on the right coast. What is it? Beer and Bullstein every Friday and Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And, of course, you have me, Reaver of Common Sense, Jersey Joe, every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is where we'll leave it tonight. This is the Reaver of Common Sense on SHR Media, conservative media done right, where truth lives and the nonsense dies screaming. We'll see you next time.